Hey everyone, just going to take a few minutes to let folks filter in and then we'll kick things off. Thank you for joining us. All right, it's go time. Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining this month's episode of Updates from the Lab, where we dig into the latest and greatest developments in the Osmosis ecosystem. I'm David Goose, marketing communications contributor, and today we're joined by some of my favorite folks contributing to Osmosis. Saeed, who skillfully leads product and user experience efforts, and Alpin, a brilliant protocol engineer. We've seen a number of UX upgrades and product improvements landing on Osmosis recently, including smart contracts that have enabled one-click trading, an integration with Deck Screener, a brand new homepage, a serious upgrade to the deposit and withdrawal experience, a refreshed portfolio page that went live earlier today and is shared here, and that doesn't even cover everything. So it's been a busy few months, but today we're going to dig into what we consider to be the biggest upgrades to the trading experience on Osmosis to date. And that would be limit orders powered by on-chain order books that are coming very soon, all wrapped together in a fully upgraded user experience. So first, we're going to kick things off with brief introductions before giving Alpin and Saeed the floor to dig into the new trading experience on Osmosis, and then hopefully we'll have some time at the end for questions. So Saeed, Alpin, thank you for joining us. Please introduce yourselves, tell us about your expertise, and the ways that you contribute to Osmosis.
I can start. All right. Hey guys, Alpin here. For those of you who haven't heard me on previous spaces, I'm a product lead and protocol engineer at Osmosis. And I've been leading the overhaul of our trade experience, including uh, the addition of our limit orders and also the novel order book design that they depend on. And I think, in many ways, I think this launch has really represented a coming of age for Osmosis's core trade experience. And I'm really, really proud of where we landed, and I'm really excited to dive in.
Saeed, we can't hear you. Might be having some problems with your mic. We're having some technical problems. Give us just a moment.
Hey, how's this?
Hear you loud and clear.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Awesome. Hey everyone, I'm Saeed, head of product, and it's been a blast. And I feel like I know we've been posting just about every other week, but it is definitely shipping season. So I think most of our time, especially mine, goes towards thinking through a lot of the hard problems that are the most fun to solve, and always trying to carve out more time for talking to users. So just for context, I think a lot of today was just talking to users. So obviously excited to share some of the findings, some of our like logic and how we operate and think through some of the product challenges as a team. And in its current state, how it's culminated in a whole new trading experience. But at the same time, I'm excited to open up the floor after that to uh, also answer all the questions around product at Osmosis.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I think let's just dig right into it. So, this new trading experience coming to Osmosis, as far as I understand, it's been rolled out to a portion of users, like based on geography. So, some folks might have access already, some folks might not be seeing it just yet, but rest assured it's coming soon. Saeed, can you explain, basically what this new trading experience entails, what some of the most impactful additions, changes, upgrades are, and really what the pain points they've hopefully will address for users.
Yeah. Okay. So trading is the product. Everything else we've shipped to date, for the most part, is or most of the features are supplemental to trading, right? Like that's why we're here on Osmosis. It's like the bread and butter for all of us. It's the thing that most of you will likely interact with the most. So it's a huge upgrade, and if you don't have access to it yet, hopefully it's right around the corner. Alpin can probably touch on how much of it's been rolled out so far. And if you've been following along on Twitter, you probably have already seen sneak peeks from others. But especially for this feature, we wanted to do a bit of a gradual rollout, right? Just in case anything was a little less, unexpected. But especially for trading, it's something we wanted to make sure we got just right. So it's been a long time in the making, and not terribly long. Again, in the spirit of shipping quickly and iterating often, but it's been at least a couple of months for this one. And I'm gonna speak on behalf of our product design wizard, Nas, today, who like tirelessly tested internally, externally, making sure that things were done intentionally. I think that we even got to a state about a month ago where everyone, for the most part on the team was ready to ship, and he just called out so many little things, and actually on his own had a whole different experience built up and refined based off user feedback along the way. So if we zoom out a little bit and talk a little bit about what it looks like and what it is in case you don't have access to it just yet. um, all of us have been familiar with, swapping is central to what we call trading, right? In DeFi for the most part, and we haven't really moved away from that in a while. And you all are familiar with a big graphic of Wasmington and a swap tool, and maybe even a swap page, but there's so much more complexity that is kind of lost when we're just talking about swapping as an experience. And it was time for us to evolve like the heart of Osmosis, the heart of your interactions in Osmosis. And if we even look to a lot of other exchanges, centralized exchanges, even for inspiration here, there's a very good reason why some things are framed the way they are. So if you look at like Coinbase, for example, you have buy, sell, and swap, or transfer, or they don't call it swap, it's convert. And for those of you who want to just continue living on in the world of swapping, and nothing else really appeals to you, it's still there. It still can be central to your experience. But through talking to users, talking to you all, even just looking to other usability patterns elsewhere and data on I'm just going to pause real quick. Am I cutting out for anyone?
No, you're loud and clear. Oh,
Cool. Oh,
might have been cutting out a bit for others.
okay. Cool. Hopefully not call me out or stop me if I am. But buying and selling assets are also a large part of how we think about trading. Like let's zoom out from the definition of swap again. And if we're actually looking at the data, so many of us are buying assets from stables or selling other assets to stables, right? Like to and from USDC, for example. And even if we look at like the volumes on Osmosis, a lot of us are doing that. So why not actually bring that experience front and center to the product, to all of us, to each and every one of you? Um, so we've introduced buy sell tabs in addition to the swap tab that you were familiar with, and all of us expect to see and still have. Um, and the fun thing about buying and selling is it also finally unlocks new trade functionality. uh, I feel like I say this all the time, but we conduct quarterly surveys. I think we missed the last one, to be fair, but we have gotten so much feedback from all of you along the way. And one of the top requested features has been limit orders, like truly the trade functionality that all of us need. And the buy and sell tab finally bring limit orders to Osmosis. It's been a long-awaited feature, but finally, it's one of hopefully many um, trading functionalities that will eventually have. So it's a huge step in the right direction. It is the canvas that's needed as far as experience goes to then add more trading experiences. And you'll also notice that to tie it all together, it's a refreshed UI that also has a good amount of negative space. So you'll notice there's a lot of empty space in the experience, and that's because we're finally carving out space for the things that matter. And I think Sunny tweeted this yesterday, but charts are coming soon. Like charts will be huge, like much requested. Even if we're just hanging out in like the prototypes and the things that we are hopefully going to ship soon, it just feels so refreshing to have beautiful, clean charts right alongside your trading experience right on Osmosis. Um, just trying to think here. I think that's a lot of it. You know, Wasmington will be missed. I know he's been there since the start, but I think his departure it comes with space for so much more utility and functionality that is just a massive, massive level up for all of us in our trading experience. Um, yeah,
Well, thank you for breaking that down. I guess taking a small step back first, can you tell me a bit about, or tell all of us a bit about, sort of your background prior to Osmosis, how that shaped your philosophy toward user experience and product, and maybe, the biggest lessons you've learned to date at Osmosis, or how it's changed your perspective?
sure, definitely. Um, wow. I started, I've been in the realm of building products and companies for 11, 12 years now. And started in hardware, like a very, very different world. I actually helped build one of the very first consumer 3D printers, if anyone remembers what Kickstarter was. And it was one of the first 3D printers, and we shipped like 12,000 units post launch and made every mistake in the book. I think it's crazy that coming from the world of hardware, again, like a whole lifetime ago, hardware you have one shot, which is so wild, right? Like you've got to test things, have all your hypotheses lined up with utmost confidence because once you ship, there's a V1 and that is generally it. So it is wildly refreshing to, of course, over the course of building products for and starting other companies, shifting into the realm of software and where we're currently at, where hey, we shipped a whole new trade experience. If you all hate it, if you love something, we can double down on it. We can change things. We can ship updates tomorrow if we want. But obviously, starting from the realm of hardware, I think that's honestly in some ways a beautiful thing around like you have one shot to have all your hypotheses in a row, just like fully locked and dialed in. Because if you mess up, that could be it. That could kill the whole company and the whole product. Um, it did go well, fortunately. Like, we shipped all our units, still made lots of mistakes, had 3,000 returns on our very first batch, ultimately tanking the company. So we did make mistakes at the end of it. Not user experience based, but still hardware mistakes. And shifted into building more like software products. Um, maybe just fast forwarding a little bit through some other startups that didn't quite work, but Brain Food was the last thing I worked on, which was like bite-sized learning and making knowledge more accessible, which translated so well to Osmosis when that also didn't quite get the traction that it needed. But now, hopefully, we get to bring some of that here, right? Like, how do we make all of DeFi and our life and experience on chain accessible to the masses. And whatever that entails, we're always talking about the masses and the next wave of users, but hopefully we're building in that direction. So we're evolving the trade experience, evolving Osmosis, like truly being so deeply in tune with our users and both the qualitative, quantitative feedback that we've built what's needed for the users to come.
Amazing. And so, are there any, even just based on recent user feedback or your own experiences with it, are there still any, what's like the one, if you had to pick one thing that you could change about the Osmosis platform with regard to user experience or product, is there something that you have specifically in mind? Or have
Oh,
we,
for
kind
sure.
of been, let's hear it.
Yeah. This is top of mind for everybody here, probably. But how do we make our experience on like cross chain more accessible? And that's the biggest one, right? Like that's what we've been working on for so long, and I think we're almost there. But it's, if we're looking at our feedback from the past few quarters, the biggest points of so the top request for everyone that's curious, the top request was better cross-chain portfolio management, just like tracking your balances across different chains, and even experiencing like the noise and messiness of like I guess some of like the debt. Well, let's call it like design and experience debt, much of which we've like contributed to. All of us have built up over time. Some of us kind of accept as a fact and what it is, but everything we need to like break free from, even if we're talking about all the crazy, crazy asset variants that have come from all of this, like the debt there, there's all of us in this audience likely are going to persist and live with it and keep working through it. But it is the messiest foundation we need to break free from if we want to go if we want to get to where we're going, right? So yeah, when it comes to just cross chain experience, like the whole like experience in Osmosis, even the fact that you've got to even think through so many variables when you're depositing into Osmosis to get up and running. I think there are even users I talk to who have been around for years now who still forget that in order to use Osmosis, they've got to deposit to get up and running. So we know what the gaps are. We're missing the mark on some of the hardest UX problems to solve, but I think the first step is being aware of them, and we have been aware of them. So I think everyone will be excited to hear that we've been building in a direction that'll finally start to solve a lot of these challenges. I think it's a tiny little step in the right direction here, but if anyone here has access to the new trade experience yet, you'll even notice that there's at the very least a call to action to deposit right on the trade widget if you are trying to swap to like from an asset or trade from an asset that we've detected you don't have deposited yet. So um, incremental steps in the right direction, but we're also hopefully in the background working towards taking a big, big leap in the right direction when it comes to making cross-chain UX so much better.
Thank you, Saeed. Always love hearing your perspective, philosophy toward the work that you do, and it's been an awesome past few months trying to really solve those most important design problems that we've seen and user experience issues. Uh, Before we jump in with Alpin, who can dig into more of like the engineering side and mechanism side, I want to caution but encourage you to check out our pre-production environment. So if you don't have access to the new portfolio page or the new trading experience yet, you can go to stage.osmosis.zone. Please use caution. It's a pre-production environment, things like that. But if you check out stage.osmosis.zone every now and then, you might see hints at what's coming soon to the Osmosis DEX and platform. That being said, would love to jump in with you, Alpin. Have a lot of questions for you, so feel free to kind of pick and choose and go with whatever you'd like. But I would love to learn how on-chain order books differ from traditional or off-chain order books, why on-chain order books are useful in a DeFi setting, and really what order books enable for users, as well as other entities, maybe like market makers, arbitrageurs, and so on. So I'll pass it on to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just before we move into order books, a brief comment on the pre-production environment, which we very quietly rolled out to incrementally growing portion of our users over the past week to 10 days. And with basically no explicit marketing. I think we had currently we're at about 40% of our users who are on the new trade experience, and an average of almost 10% of our daily volume from our front end is going through limit orders. And I think that I mean, it really does seem that this is net new volume as well. This kind of like roaring adoption for a feature within days of launch I just think it's really gratifying to see, and also validates that this was a feature that a lot of people really needed. Um, yeah. Uh, on order books, I think the central product challenge of launching an on-chain order book, which a lot of teams have tried in the past, is bootstrapping market makers. It's a question of when you have an AMM, you can have your users and your traders also be your market makers. And this allows for new pools and new liquidity to get bootstrapped and be usable from day one. And order books don't have this property because market making on them is much more expensive and requires much more sophistication, such that the average trader is not able to really provide liquidity to them. So Osmosis's order books are unique in that they require no market makers to function at all. And this is because we've architected them in a way that allows them to plug directly into all of Osmosis's existing infrastructure, and most importantly, into our router sidecar, which runs on a subset of Osmosis nodes, and we run an instance as well. Basically, what this allows for is the tens of millions of dollars of daily volume on Osmosis to automatically flow into order books as they're created and as people place limit orders on them. In the same way that traffic might flow through a new road once it's integrated into Google Maps. Um, and the net result of this is that order books have been functional on day one for every asset on Osmosis. And in fact, yeah, I think this was why if we needed market makers to have volume and liquidity on order books, then we would not have even been able to accommodate the sort of double-digit percent of front end volume going through them in such a short time span. So I think from product side, there are so many moving pieces, or like hundreds of little decisions that we made. But I think maybe the most important one was that we were able to leverage Osmosis's existing user flow and sort of this very tight native integration with all of the other liquidity on Osmosis to bootstrap the usage of order books. And we already have seen a lot of assets, like for example like new tokens like from Penumbra are the order book pools, even with only 40% of our users trading on them, have completely overtaken the concentrated liquidity pools in terms of volume and liquidity. So from product side, I think that's been great success. I can dive into the mechanism as well. David, I'll let you decide where to take it from.
Please do dive into the mechanism. Would love to learn if there are any other pieces that make it unique from other implementations, and also if you were inspired by any existing implementations and kind of where you diverge there.
Sure. Yeah. I think the leading theme of this product, of the limit orders and the trade experience overhaul, has been craft. It's craft at the product level, craft at the backend and chain level, and then I think I'll touch on this in a second, and craft at the mechanism level. When we set out to implement order books, we found that uh, basically none of the mechanisms out there cut it for us. We needed a mechanism. I think the most important property that we needed from our order books was that they would not break at scale. And unfortunately, all of the existing order book mechanisms out there, the on-chain order book mechanisms out there, are currently held together with some spit and some tape, and you have developers that need to come in and basically every once in a while crank out all of the debris in the pipes and clear out and basically unclog these systems that are just not designed in a way that scales. And solving this problem required us to create a completely new order book mechanism in house. And we've been working on the feature for maybe something on the order of months, but this mechanism has been sort of in the works for over a year now, where all the pieces have been coming together, and we finally just hit a place earlier this year where we felt that it was ready to actually get into a product. And there's a lot that goes into the mechanism design of this order book, but I think the most important property is that uh, no matter how many swaps and no matter how many limit orders are placed on the order book, the performance of the order book does not change. So it's sort of constant in the number of constant in the number of limits that are placed. The TLDR on this is that the order books as a mechanism are actually more efficient than our concentrated liquidity, and I think that this is very difficult for someone who is not really in the weeds on the mechanisms to grok. But when you use the product, you feel it. It feels crisp. The fees are lower. It's faster. It's just there's a level of sort of elegance in the mechanism that I think is really shining through on the rest of the layers of the stack. Basically, when it came to the mechanism, we didn't compromise on sort of the elegance of it for shipping speed.
Before I dive into a few other questions I had, are there any other, specific points on limit orders or order books that you would like to touch on?
Nothing on my end. I think for the people who are not currently who currently don't have access, yeah, you mentioned. I just wanted to highlight again. Stage.osmosis.zone has the most up to date version, and if you want to give it a try, you can right now.
Once you've used it, or for anyone who has used it, drop a comment or even vote on Sunny's poll. Like, what do you want to see next? What should we fix? Charts are coming soon, so if there's anything else we're missing, please give us feedback.
Yes, give us all of the feedback, good, bad, great, ugly. We'll take it. Always just trying to improve things for everyone. So you said that we're seeing about maybe 10% of volume, if I heard you right, flowing through limit orders now. How does this compare with what you expected? And do you have benchmarks or comparisons with other dexes with order books and things like that? Just to like get an idea of kind of where we are from the jump.
So it's actually very difficult to get comparisons with other dexes because a lot of this data is not on chain. I think the solution that many other projects have taken to supporting limit orders has been to centralize them and to somehow process them or run them on their servers, and we don't have access to that data. Um, I can say that our expectation internally was to have maybe 3 to 5% of our front end volume go through limit orders um, once we had launched to everyone. So the fact that we're sitting at something like 8 to 10% with less than half of our users actually using the feature, I think is has been sort of a great surprise to us on the upside, and also I think just a testament to to how important the feature was. I think there are so many people who have been messaging us over the last week, saying that this is something that it's almost come as a relief that they can finally trade in the way and with the size that they have wanted to for a long time on Osmosis, but couldn't because they were constrained by the underlying sort of mechanisms that we were using. So I think as we continue to roll out to more of the user base, and which by probably around end of day tomorrow, we'll have fully rolled out to 100% of our users. And then as we continue to add follow-on features such as charts, where you can place an order by sort of clicking on a chart and sort of more visually deciding what price to place your limit at. I think that it'll only grow from here, and I think that in 6 to 8 months we won't really be talking about limit order volume as a percentage of total swap volume. I think it'll just become a core part of the Osmosis trade experience, and it'll just be regular Osmosis volume.
And so, are there any potential downsides or risks or really anything uh, that would come into play if order book volume outpaced or Yeah, if basically if more volume flowed through limit orders versus through just normal swaps, or is that irrelevant here?
I think that I don't think that there are any sort of material risks to. I'm assuming you mean, for example, to the market structure of, okay, well, maybe if order books are too efficient and they start, pull all the volume from concentrated liquidity, maybe there's not enough of an incentive to market make anymore. But it's very important to keep in mind that building more efficient mechanisms does not obsolete the older ones. And I think that I view it as less of all of Osmosis's volume will move onto order books and more of now we are finally able to accommodate the sort of the full life cycle of an asset, where once sort of the asset is first launched and there's no liquidity anywhere, you might want to do some sort of like full range concentrated liquidity position. It's extremely capital inefficient, but you don't know what the price is. It's very risky, and you just need some liquidity. And then from there, as volume picks up, as more sophisticated actors enter the space, maybe the asset starts getting more concentrated liquidity depth. And at this stage, the order book is still active, but it's not really processing a tremendous amount of volume. It's just people placing limit orders that are getting filled. There are no market makers on it. And then as the asset gets to even higher volume and even higher market cap, we might see, for example, a market maker step in and start market making really tight spreads on the order book and giving really great prices. And we might see sort of the volume flow out of the concentrated liquidity pool into the order books. So I don't think that these markets are mutually exclusive, and I think that we're basically breaking more ground in for assets to remain on Osmosis as their primary exchange, and never have a reason to really move all of their liquidity and their volume onto a centralized exchange. I think that's the ultimate goal, is that the full life cycle of an asset can be accommodated on Osmosis.
I see. Thank you for breaking that down. Um, Want to open the floor to anyone with additional questions that you might have. Please feel free to raise your hand, request to come up. In the meantime, while you're thinking about questions you might have, maybe Saeed, you can jump into talking a little bit about the refreshed portfolio page that we dropped today.
Yeah, for sure. So if we're talking about top requested features, the portfolio is definitely the other one. Um, not cross-chain portfolio tracking yet, but in its current state, way better than what we've had. I think the portfolio everyone's been living with was our MVP portfolio, and in theory, more of your time is probably spent on a portfolio page than a lot of other features in a product, like hopefully discovery, right? Like you're looking for new things, you're maybe spending more time on the assets page now, just like discovering assets, but also keeping track of your portfolio. And I don't know, if we're healthy about things, we're not checking our portfolio every day or 20 times a day or 50 times a day, but I know a lot of people are. And there's finally a better home for that right on Osmosis, complete with charts, like being able to actually see your historical performance. It was definitely a complex task for our data team, um, but they pulled it off. It's in place, and on the new portfolio page, you've got fresh charts that you can minimize, maximize depending on your preference, like nice, clear deposit, buy, withdraw buttons right up top. A very clear overview at a glance of course, your total balance. But then on the right, if your screen accommodates it, at least like for slightly larger screens on the right, now you have a nice allocation, just like a breakdown, a composition of your portfolio. Everything from um, the assets you have to even a view for the assets that are available. And soon, right underneath, you also have your recent activity. I think activity is also something that everyone has been wanting more front and center for so long, just like your transaction history. It's like a basic table stake you need for a complete experience. For those of you who may not have even discovered it yet, we actually shipped that months ago, but you couldn't find it. It was like hard to discover. I think it's in your profile as like a line item, which is crazy. So now your most recent activity is right there at a glance. You can click into your full detailed activities, recent activity from there if you want to hit see all. And if you are, since the trade experience is released today and maybe tomorrow, you'll also have your open orders at a glance. So in addition to, of course, the basic things you need for your portfolio, like your overview, your balance, your charts, you now also have like a much better, more meaningful allocation breakdown, open orders, and recent activity all at a glance. All of those critical like details or features are now just a click away, right? Just one click into seeing all of that information. To top it off, if you scroll down, all of your assets that you hold are in a much nicer, much needed refreshed table view with bigger deposit withdrawal buttons that are right there. Even like price change. I think one of the things that'll be a huge unlock for us, which is on our roadmap and as like a next iteration of the portfolio, is actually what centralized exchanges do so well. I have a feeling a lot of you will want this as well, but how has my asset performed over time? Like, am I up or down collectively since over the lifetime of holding the asset, depending on when I acquired it, at what price, what it currently is right now? That's probably one of the most important things is at a glance, like, is my Bitcoin or Ethereum just like up or down based off of when I acquired it? So that is hopefully coming soon. And I think that'll be the next big update. The other thing I'm excited for us to ship as like another update, again, shipping fast, iterating fast, but in a future edition, just making the portfolio page more alive, like a nice juicy, exciting animation for live updates by the second, maybe every 5 seconds, having your portfolio like feel more dynamic and alive, depending on hopefully it's always flashing green and moving upward, but that would be one of the next steps. So if you haven't checked out your portfolio today, give it a go. It should be available to everyone. This is a low risk feature for us to ship, so we're not breaking anything here, hopefully. But it should be live for everyone. So give it a go. Drop feedback. If there's anything you're expecting and we didn't ship for this first version, drop a comment. Let us know. We're here and we're listening. And we have more cycles dedicated to shipping updates to all of the above, right? The trade page, the portfolio page. So hit us with all the feedback.
Yes, all the feedback, more the merrier. So yeah, really excited to hear thoughts on the new portfolio page, and we hope you enjoy it. Same for the new trading experience, along with on-chain order books, enabling limit orders. So lots to enjoy, and hopefully we're solving these pain points that everyone's feeling and continuing to iterate as time goes on to make it even better. We do have a lot going on this side. Osmosis contributors are speaking at Korea Blockchain Week around Token 2049 in Singapore, as well as Solana Breakpoint, among others. So exciting times ahead, and we hope to see some of you folks in person as well. Do we have any questions from the audience in the meantime? If not, I think we can probably wrap things up, but we have a lot cooking, a lot that has already been cooked and is ready to come out of the oven. Yeah, exciting times and hoping to close out the rest of the year with a bang. So thank you everyone for joining, taking the time to listen to me ramble on, have Saeed and Alpin's expertise, and hope to see you at the next edition of Updates from the Lab. Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Thanks,
rest of your
everyone.
day.
Thanks all.